is these niggas playing with me like that?
I don't know, bro. We about to walk into stuff.
I took that shit personal, just
give me the green light.
3 years ago, yeah, I know I was bumming, now I'm buzzing like number 2 on the Hornets. That's how it go, try moving fast or slow. Never put trust on no hoe, so I watch how I move. All I think about is blues, all I make is money moves, ayy. Hood nigga, not a street nigga, only some know that it's a difference. I had to keep my distance, I'm from the D, red and blue, but don't play for the business. Hottest nigga out the city, I know. 6 figures, 6 months in a row. They sneak distance, so I know I had go. I'm from the trenches, so I keep a pole. Jeff Hardy top ropes, I'm raw. 12 on me, I can't say what I saw. Jason Man strapped up for the league. 70 bands, I spit on the car.
I'm going to show you guys how I made my rare point forward using the mostly yellow with some green pie chart. As you guys saw in my video yesterday, this build at 99 overall is crazy. I'm going to go ahead and get right into the video. I'm going to show you guys how to make this build. Make sure boys drop a like, drop a sub, turn on post notifications, join the ISO gang, and let's get right into it. With Christmas coming up very soon, there's going to be new people getting this game. So I'm going to be doing an updated build video on all 4 of my main builds. You guys see I have my point forward, my 2-way pass first swing, my 2-way slash and playmaker, and then I also have my normal slash and playmaker. All 4 of these builds go crazy on the ISO, and they're different from most of the builds that you generally see on NBA 2K. So for anyone that's new and looking to make a dope build, you guys can definitely go crazy with any 4 of these builds. For this video, I'm going to show you guys how I made my point forward. I'm going to show you guys 2 different ways that you can make this build. The first way is how I made this build. The second way is how I would remake this build, if that makes sense. So yeah, man, both versions of this build goes crazy, but the second way I feel like would be better overall, especially on the ISO. So yeah, man, this is how I originally made my point forward build. I went small forward, I chose left hand, and then I choose a number 5, but you can go with whatever you want. With a pie chart, I chose the new pie chart. This pie chart is actually very underrated and you hardly ever see anyone use it. It's a mostly yellow with some green. This pie chart was brand new in NBA 2K22 current gen. And then you always want to choose speed. Now for my physical or for my badge setup, this is how I set up my attributes. So this is how I set up my attributes for my build that I originally made. This build gets 30 playmaking badges, which is insane. We get 19 shooting. So you can spark up with this build. And one thing I really also like about this build is the defense. We get 8 defensive badges. The only downside to this build is the finishing, but everything else goes crazy. So it really depends on your playstyle. This build can use screens and it can ISO because the 3-ball and the ball handle is going to be so high. And you can also guard ball because you're going to get good animations around the room when you contest shots. So yeah, man, for the body shape, I believe I went compact on this build, but you can choose whatever you want. I went 6'6" because this was the best version of the build. For the weight, you can put the weight down and then you can up it just a little bit to where you get some extra strength. For the wingspan on this version of the build, what I did is I went 2 ticks under max wingspan. And the reason why I've done that on this build is this is the only way you get sharp take. So if you want sharp take on a point forward, you gotta go 2 ticks under max wingspan. If you go max wingspan, you're not going to get sharp take. So that's one thing I do like about not having max wingspan on this build. Now at 99 overall, we get a high 3-pointer, we get an 85 ball control, which actually at 97 overall we get an 85 ball control, which gives us which allows us to do all the glitchy drill moves. We have a really high free ball and our defensive stats are extremely good as well. This is my version of the build, but like I said, the only downside to this build when I make it this way is the finishing and the dunks. So yeah, man, and then you guys can see this does allow you to get sharp take. So this is how I made my point forward with sharp take. And then I'm also going to show you guys a better version, in my opinion, of this build as well. But before I do, I am going to show you guys my badge setup on my build real fast. So on this build, for the finishing, I just use limitless takeoff on bronze. For the shooting, this is my badge setup, but you have so many shooting badges on this build, you can literally set it up however you want. It's extremely easy to shoot with this build, especially with all these badges. For my badge setup, I would probably do something like this. This is what I generally run. Hall of Fame ankle breaker, tight handles, and space creator go crazy. I be catching so many ankles with this build. And the defense on this build is highly underrated. We basically have max defense and we have 8 defensive badges. This might not look like much, but I'm telling you, with these badges, you get really good block animations around the rim. So that's how I would set up the badges on this build. Now let me show you guys the better version of this build that I would go back and remake if possible. Now, if I could remake this build, this is what I would do. I would still go small forward, of course. I would still choose left hand, and then I would still choose the number 5. And then, of course, I would still choose the same pie chart, the mostly yellow with some green. I would still choose the physical profile that gives me speed, but I would set up my attributes different. If I were to remake this build, this is what I would do. And I know I'm getting less badges, but the key thing with this is we're gonna have 3 finishing badges, which is gonna give us limitless takeoff on gold. On this build, I know I'm getting less shooting, but I don't need that many shooting on this build because it's so easy to shoot in general. I'm used to shooting with a 65 free ball anyway. So whenever I have anything over an 80 or so, I can spark up very easily. I did like having 30 playmaking badges on this build, but we still get 26, which is more than enough. We're getting 2 less defense as well, but we still basically have max defense. We just don't have offensive rebound this time. So you're still gonna get good block animations around the rim. It does cost a lot to get those 3 finishing badges, but I'm telling you, this version of the build is gonna be better and overall more balanced. So that's how I would make this build. And then I would also change up the wingspan. I would still go 6'6". I would still choose the same weight. I would, let's see, I would go 184, so I get that extra strength, and this time I would up my wingspan. Now listen, the only downside to having max wingspan on this build is we're not going to be able to get sharp tape, so that's really up to you. You could go 2 ticks down, but the reason we want to go max wingspan is at 99 overall, we get a 70 driving dunk, which gives us a quick drops off 1 dunk package. That dunk package is super OP. Paired with limitless takeoff on gold, you're going to get way better dunk animations around the rim. This build is going to be better with max wingspan, that's just my opinion. We're going to have a 70 driving dunk at 99 overall, which gives us quick drops off 1. Our 3-pointer at 99 overall is going to be an 82, which is more than enough to spark up. Anything over 80, you're good. At 99 overall, we're going to have an 85 ball control, so we're going to be able to do every single glitchy drill move. If you want to dribble the way that I do, you need an 85 ball control, that's just how it is. And for our defense, we're going to have better defensive stats on this build just because we have max wingspan. I feel like this version of the build would be so much better. Like I wish I could go back and remake this build, but it is what it is. The first version of this build still goes crazy as well. Now, for the takeover, since we can't get sharp, I would just choose playmaking takeover anyway, and you'd be able to catch ankles and go crazy on the ISO, so that would still be dope. And you guys can see it would still come out as a point forward. Now on this version of the build, I'm going to show you guys my badge setup as well. My finishing, I would put limitless takeoff on gold. This paired at 99 overall with quick drops off 1 would be super OP. This would be my badge setup for my shooting, and 14 is more than enough. With an 82 3-ball plus all these badges, you're gonna be able to shoot just fine. And then for my playmaking, we're still fun. We just don't have space to create on Hall of Fame, and I don't really use that badge anyway. So 26 playmaking is more than enough. And then for my defense, we have max wingspan now, so this is what I would run. This is gonna give us the ability to guard the perimeter and in the paint. We're still gonna get good block animations around the rim with rim protector and chase down. So yeah, man, I believe that this is a better version of my build. Let me know which one of these versions you like better. It's been your boy JR. Thank you boys so much. I'm out. Peace.